Hi, little explorers. Welcome back to Cozy Tales, where every story wraps you up like a warm blanket. Today's story is about a clever little crow who faced the sunniest, driest day and still didn't give up. So, grab your favorite snack, snuggle in, and let's begin The Thirsty Crow. It was the hottest day of the year. The sun sat high in the sky like a big glowing pancake, spreading heat over everything below. The trees stood sleepy and still. Even the breeze had gone quiet, hiding somewhere cool. High above the dusty earth, a little black crow named Coco flew slowly through the sky. His feathers were shiny but drooping. His beak was dry. His wings beat the air, but they felt heavy. "I'm so thirsty," Coco croaked. "Just one drop of water, please." He had flown over 3 farms, 2 hills, and 1 almost empty pond, but not a single drop had touched his beak. The streams were all dry, the puddles had vanished, and the well near Farmer Milo's barn? Empty. Coco landed on a crooked old fence and blinked up at the sun. "Why is everything so dry?" he asked, though no one answered. His little claws gripped the wood, warm from the heat. He looked around. Birds had tucked themselves under leaves. A fox lay panting in the shade. A butterfly fluttered once and stopped. "I have to keep going," Coco whispered. "Water must be somewhere." He stretched his wings and took off again, gliding low over golden grass that crackled in the heat. Every now and then, he looked down hopefully, but nothing glistened, not even a shiny rock. Then, suddenly, a breeze brushed past his wing. It was gentle and cool just for a second. Coco turned his head. Was that a whisper? He landed on a stone and listened. The wind rustled the grass like it was trying to speak. "Follow the wind," it seemed to sigh. Coco tilted his head. "Follow the wind?" he repeated. "But where?" The breeze nudged him again, this time toward a line of tall trees in the distance. Their tops swayed gently, even though everything else was still. "I don't know what's there," said Coco, "but it's better than staying here." He flapped his wings once, twice, and rose into the air. As he flew, he noticed a few feathers had stuck together. His body needed water. Soon. "I just need a little," he said, like a promise. Just enough to keep flying. Far below, the dusty world blurred. His eyes stayed on the trees ahead, and the memory of that cool breeze wrapped around him like hope. Somewhere beyond those swaying trees, something was waiting. Maybe, just maybe, it was water. Coco flew toward the line of tall trees, the breeze still brushing gently against his wings. The air was dry, but the wind carried a strange softness as if it was leading him somewhere kind. He landed at the edge of the forest, where the sun couldn't reach through the thick green leaves. The shade wrapped around him like a blanket. Coco sat on a low branch and took a deep breath. "Thank you, trees," he whispered, resting for a moment. But he couldn't stay long. His throat still ached. His wings felt heavy. He hopped down and walked across the forest floor, where old leaves crunched softly under his feet. A squirrel peered at him from a tree trunk, holding a nut, but said nothing. Coco looked up. "Excuse me, do you know where I can find water?" The squirrel shook its head slowly. "No water here," it squeaked. "The stream dried up days ago. We've all been waiting for the rain." Coco's feathers drooped again. "Oh," he said quietly. "Thank you anyway." He walked on. The forest opened up into a wide field, dry and cracked like broken clay. Tall grass stood stiff and silent. A few dragonflies hovered, their wings barely moving. Suddenly, the breeze returned. "Psst." Coco turned his head. Did someone say something? No one was there, just the wind slipping through the dry grass. It swirled around him gently, like a whisper near his ear. "Don't stop now." Coco blinked. "Am I dreaming?" he asked aloud. The wind didn't answer, but it danced ahead of him, tickling the tops of the grass, bending it just enough to show a path. It twisted and curled, like a ribbon showing him where to go. "Well," said Coco, "if you're trying to help me, thank you." And so he followed. Step by step, wing by wing, he moved across the dry field. His feet touched patches of warm earth. His eyes searched every corner. Still, no water, but something inside him said, "Keep going." As he walked, he noticed something strange: tiny white stones on the ground, like a trail. They weren't there before. Coco picked one up in his beak and turned it over. It was smooth and round, like a tiny egg. He looked ahead. More stones. In a curved line, almost like a path, Coco whispered. He followed the pebbles, one after another. They led through the field and toward a thicket of bushes, low and wide. Coco pushed through the branches, carefully stepping over thorns. And then he saw her. A little rabbit, with soft brown fur and curious eyes, was placing a small stone onto the path. "Oh," said Coco. "Are you making this trail?" The rabbit jumped and turned. "Oh, a crow. I didn't think anyone was following." "I was," said Coco gently. "Are these for something?" The rabbit nodded. "They lead to an old garden. There might be water there." Coco's eyes lit up. "Water? Maybe," said the rabbit. "No one's checked in a while, but it's worth a try." Coco nodded. His wings fluttered with hope. "Thank you," he said. "I'll follow the stones." The rabbit smiled. "I'll come with you." Together, they stepped into the path of pebbles, two small friends against the heat and dust, led by wind and hope. Coco the crow and the little rabbit moved side by side, following the trail of smooth white pebbles. The sun still glowed in the sky, but the trees above gave them shade like umbrellas made of leaves. "My name's Remy," said the rabbit, hopping gently over a root. "I'm Coco," the crow replied with a tired smile. "Thank you for helping me." Remy nodded. "I saw you flying and thought, maybe you were thirsty too." "I am," Coco said softly. "I've been flying all morning, looking for water. Everything is dry." Remy looked ahead. "It's been a long time since it rained. The garden we're going to use to have a small jar of water for birds and bees. Maybe it still does." "I hope so," Coco said. The path twisted and turned. Sometimes the wind pushed them gently from behind, like it wanted to hurry them along. Coco still couldn't fly very far. His wings were too tired, but walking next to Remy felt good. Not so lonely, not so hard. They passed a patch of dry sunflowers, their heads drooping low. A sleepy beetle crawled along a stem. "Do you think the jar will still have water?" Coco asked. "I'm not sure," Remy said, "but it's hidden deep in the garden. Not many animals go there anymore." "Why not?" Remy lowered her ears. "Some say it's forgotten. Others say it's too far. But I think they just gave up." Coco paused to rest his feet. "I almost gave up too," he admitted, "until the wind started to whisper to me." Remy looked surprised. "You heard it too?" Coco nodded. "It told me to keep going, like it was alive." Remy looked up at the trees swaying above them. "Maybe the world is trying to help us," she said. "In small ways." They walked on. After a while, the pebbles became harder to see. Some were buried in dirt, others scattered by animals. But Remy remembered the way. "We're getting close," she said. "Can you smell that?" Coco lifted his head. There was a faint scent in the air, sweet and earthy, like wet roots. "That's it," Remy whispered. "That's the garden." They pushed through one last row of brambles and came to a clearing. The garden was quiet and wild. Vines wrapped around old stone walls. Flowers, some alive, some wilted, grew in little patches. Bees buzzed slowly, and dragonflies shimmered in the dusty sunlight. In the middle of the garden stood a low stone table. On top of it sat an old clay jar, half covered in moss. "There it is," said Remy. Coco rushed forward and peered inside. His eyes sparkled. There was water at the bottom, but it was low, too low for him to reach with his beak. He tried to tilt the jar, but it was too heavy. He pecked at it, but nothing changed. Remy climbed up beside him. "Maybe we can think of a way," she said. Coco sat back, thinking hard. His wings were too weak to fly, the water too deep to reach. He looked around the garden, stones, petals, twigs, and suddenly, an idea began to sparkle in his mind. Coco stared into the clay jar. The water was there, clear, cool, and waiting but far below. His beak couldn't reach it, not even if he stretched as far as he could. Remy watched him, her nose twitching. "There has to be a way," she said gently. Coco fluttered his wings, careful not to knock the jar over. "It's right there, but it might as well be on the moon." He sat back on the stone table and looked around the forgotten garden. The vines curled like sleepy snakes across broken bricks. A butterfly landed on a petal, then flew away. Suddenly, a small pebble rolled beneath his claw. Coco blinked. "A pebble," he said slowly. Remy tilted her head. "What about it?" Coco's eyes lit up. "If we drop pebbles into the jar, the water will rise." Remy's eyes widened. "You're right. I've seen that in a story once. The water lifts up with every pebble." Without wasting a second, Coco flew just a little into the garden's edge, searching the ground. Remy began hopping in circles, collecting every small, smooth stone she could find. "This one's round," she said, holding one in her paws. "This one's shiny," Coco said, grabbing another with his beak. One by one, they dropped pebbles into the jar. Plink, plunk, plop. The water wobbled. A small ring rippled across the surface. "Again," Remy cheered. They kept going, pebble after pebble. The pile inside the jar grew taller. The water climbed higher. Plink, plunk, flop. Coco peeked inside. "It's working," he cried. "The water's almost at the top." Remy danced on her paws. "Just a few more." They searched the garden again under petals, between roots, behind mossy stones. Coco even found a shiny blue button and dropped it in. It floated, but it still helped. Plunk. Coco hurried back to the jar, his wings shaking with excitement. "Let me try now," he said. He bent his head carefully, slowly, and then sip. Cool. Sweet water touched his dry beak at last. He drank and drank. Not too fast, just enough. Each drop felt like a hug inside his chest. His feathers fluffed. His wings felt lighter. He sighed, smiling wide. "That's the best water I've ever tasted." Remy clapped her paws. "You did it, Coco. You really did it." "No," said Coco. "We did it. You led me here. You believed in me." The wind whispered again, swirling around them in the garden. It rustled the leaves like applause. Coco turned his face to the sky. The sun still shone, but it felt a little kinder now. "We're not just thirsty creatures," he said softly. "We're brave ones." Remy sat beside him, her fur glowing in the golden light. "And clever ones," she added. Coco chuckled. "Especially clever." The garden, though forgotten, now held laughter and life again, and tucked deep inside, a jar of hope stood tall, filled not just with water, but with the... Coco sat beside the jar, his feathers a little shinier now, his eyes bright again. Each sip of water had filled him not only with strength, but with something else too. Gratitude. Remy leaned against the stone table, watching him quietly. "You look better," she said with a smile. "I feel better," Coco replied. "Because of you." Remy shook her head. "Because of both of us." Coco turned to the jar. The water inside was still there enough for another creature or two. He looked around the garden, the flowers, the buzzing bees, the quiet air. It was peaceful, safe. But Coco's heart wasn't quiet. "I should tell the others," he said suddenly. "Others?" Remy asked. "Yes, the crow family near the dry river, the lizard under the rocks, even the squirrel in the tree. They're all thirsty too." Remy's ears perked up. "That's kind of you." Coco stretched his wings stronger now, still a little shaky. "I'm going to fly back and tell them," he said. He flapped once, then again, then up, up, into the warm air. The wind cheered as he soared above the treetops, dipping and gliding over golden fields. His heart beat fast, not from fear, but from purpose. The squirrel was still in the tree, clutching his nut. "There's water," Coco called. "In the garden past the field." The squirrel blinked. "Really? Really? Just follow the pebble trail." Coco didn't stop. He flew to the dry stream bed, where a lizard lay under a flat stone, eyes half closed. "Water," Coco called again. "Hidden in an old jar. Come quickly." The lizard flicked its tongue in surprise. "Water?" Coco nodded, not stopping. At last, he reached the edge of the dry field. Other crows were perched in a low tree, feathers dull, eyes tired. Coco landed in front of them. "Friends," he said, out of breath but beaming. "I found it. A garden. A jar. There's water." They murmured in surprise. "It's far," he said, "but not too far. And there's hope waiting there." A young crow tilted her head. "Will there be enough for us all?" Coco paused, then smiled gently. "Maybe not forever, but enough to share. Enough to start." One by one, the crows took flight, wings flapping like leaves in the breeze. Coco led the way, his heart full. Back at the garden, Remy sat near the jar, smoothing the pebbles around it. When she looked up, she gasped. The sky above shimmered with black wings. Crows, soaring and circling, landing softly like shadows. They lined up at the jar. Coco showed them how to drink, gently, carefully. "Thank you," said one. "You saved us," said another. Remy watched from the edge, her heart full. Later, as the sky turned orange, Coco sat beside her again. "You were right," he said. "About what?" "That this world still whispers kindness," he said. "We just have to listen." The wind danced again, curling around them both. The jar still sat in the garden, half full, shining in the last light of the day, proof that even the smallest creatures can bring life back to forgotten places. The sky turned soft purple as the sun melted behind the hills. The garden glowed with golden light. Coco perched on the edge of the stone table, watching the last crow sip from the jar. His heart felt calm. The garden was no longer forgotten. Remy sat close beside him, her ears twitching at every breeze. "They'll remember this place now," she whispered. Coco nodded slowly. "Because we shared it." All around the garden, animals rested. The squirrel curled up in the branches above. The lizard sunbathed on a flat stone. Crows nested in the tall trees nearby. Peace filled the air, like a soft song. The jar sat proudly on the stone table, filled with pebbles and a little water, enough for another sip, another visitor, another chance. "I think the garden was waiting," Remy said. "For what?" Coco asked. "For someone brave and kind." Coco looked down, feathers ruffling. "I almost gave up, you know. I thought the world had nothing left for me." Remy smiled. "But you listened, to the wind, to the whispers, and to your heart." Coco stretched his wings, now strong and steady. He hopped onto a branch and looked at the glowing scene below. "Friends, rest, and hope. I think I'll fly north tomorrow," he said. "Help others find water. Maybe there are more gardens waiting to be remembered." Remy's eyes sparkled. "And I'll stay here. Keep the jar clean. Leave pebbles out for anyone who comes." They sat together in silence, wrapped in the warmth of the garden. The wind whispered through the leaves, no longer desperate but content, as if it too was at peace. Before long, stars blinked awake above the trees. Fireflies danced near the mossy wall. The garden, once quiet and forgotten, now pulsed with gentle life. Coco stood tall. "We were just two small creatures," he said. "But look what we did." Remy nodded, placing her paw over one smooth pebble, one drop of kindness at a time. And so, the story of the thirsty crow and the kind rabbit was no longer just a tale. It became a memory, a path, a promise whispered from wing to wing, paw to paw. In the garden of hope, every pebble had a story, and every sip carried the strength of those who believed, who tried, and who shared. Thanks for joining us on the journey of the thirsty crow, a story of hope, kindness, and never giving up. If you like this tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss a cozy bedtime adventure. And remember, just like Coco and Remy, small hearts can make a big difference. Good night, little dreamers. Until next time, keep listening to the wind.